There's a kind of irony to what I'm doing. My girlfriend Colette's still probably on Josh's Journey channel. Maybe I will be able to get these videos onto Kohan Colette's channel. So I'll keep it clean. I'll keep it precise. I won't offend the YouTube censors with any naked noobly doos, you know? No 17th century Flemish paintings. No, that offends the censors too. Yeah. Genocide. Okay, well, genocide, cool. We'll give them $1.5 billion. Google's okay with that, but it might offend their corporate sponsors if they have a 17th century Flemish titi. Titi. Okay, so there's an irony to what I'm doing, obviously. I am thousands of miles away from my original home in Arizona, in Morocco, and it looks just like Arizona. Like, it's like the picture of Arizona. Yeah. Maybe there's no cactus, though. But it's very familiar looking, although the weather is nicer somehow, and more agricultural. But I think I relate to this place because there's so many cultural similarities, ancestral cultural similarities, because of my Semitic heritage, you know, Jewish or whatever, and Canaanite religion, and also my Southwestern heritage, because I get born in the Southwestern United States on the borderland and a land of indigenous culture. And Morocco is both of these things very much so. So, like, Morocco has so much in common with the Levant and so much in common with the Southwestern United States, or what scholars might call arid America, or no, oasis America, let's say. So this region naturally is on the border between the culture of Europe, so Spain, Italy, all this, France, and you have all that influence. You eat bocadillos, you eat croissant, you eat pasta and pizza everywhere in Morocco, and it's very good, actually. The quality is not lacking here, especially in these smaller cities like Khamisat. They really have the quality ingredients that the touristic sites in Morocco, like Marrakesh or, you know, Chefchaouen, they're trash. Trust me. Don't. Chefchaouen is for Instagram, it's for TikTok. And also, you like nature, lots of nice things outside of Chefchaouen, but not for food. Food is not, of Chefchaouen is not the best. The food in the cities of, rural Morocco, this is the king of Moroccan food. Khamisat, Midelt, oh my god, the food of Midelt. Even the fast food is on another level. And the price is very small. For, compared to even other cities in Morocco for the food. So, talking about what similarities we have between these three cultures that are so close to my heart. Borderlands. It's a border between Europe and Africa. So, Morocco is objectively in Africa. It's in the northwestern corner of Africa, almost just kissing up with Spain. Just the tip of Spain's lip is kissing the Morocco's hiney. I should get demonetized for this video for sure. And you get the culture of Africa and the culture of Europe, and also a little bit the culture of the Middle East. Because actually Morocco is of the three influences, Europe, Africa, and Middle East. Middle East is the least in Morocco. Yes, you find it falafel, hummus, but very, very small. To continue on my previous video, as I was not rudely interrupted by someone I was talking to, which I will give no more details about, I will just say, with Morocco, the African culture much stronger actually than the Middle Eastern culture. I said that you have the falafel, hummus, but this is foreign food in Morocco. The basic food of Morocco is the food of ancient Africa and Europe. Let's say local food. Couscous, which is made from semolina, which is a form of somewhat less processed durum wheat. I forget. And it's better than the white flour, I think, for the health. We also, in Italy, they make the pasta out of it, and couscous is kind of like a more basic form of pasta, or actually a more, let's say, it's its own kind of thing, I guess. Make the small grains rather than the big pasta, and you put the sauce and all the vegetables and the meat onto it. And this is very similar to what is eaten in West Africa as well. You have some kind of couscous they make maybe out of cassava or sorghum. And I think couscous may be like an adaptation, rather, of an indigenous previous form of production of food, like with sorghum and other more traditional grains being adapted to the introduction of wheat, which is a more efficient and perhaps more tasty and desirable form of grain, with a higher calorie content per gram than sorghum or cassava or anything like that. So an indigenous practice gets adapted to new ingredients. Of course, this is thousands of years ago, and we have records, of course, of from the Romans of the original couscous. Let's say they called it pus punicum. That's what the Romans called it. We could call it maybe like couscous, but with honey and jben. So you can see these traditional like North African ingredients. Jben, the soft cheese of the goat. It doesn't have a very strong or sour flavor like the goat cheese of France. It's a very light cheese, like a ricotta, but of goat milk, and with the honey on semolina, which is kind of like the semolina of probably couscous, actually, like an early couscous. Essentially, this is what the Carthaginians would have been eating, and I think this was very likely an indigenous North African thing that was simply adopted very quickly by Carthaginian Phoenician traders when they entered into North Africa, and then eventually passed on this recipe to the Romans, which may have been influential about the later development of pasta in Rome, in Italy, which, from what I understand, is not necessarily an invention unique to China that then spread to Italy. Rather, I think pasta is most likely indigenous to the Mediterranean region, arriving independently of China, but rather having some sort of similarities inherent to like the conditions of production. So, mass production. We call this, like, in biology, they call this convergent evolution. And I think this is something very, very common in cuisine. As, cuisine is scientific. It's chemistry, physics, and biology all intertwined, which is why I think culinary is like the ultimate science. So, for Morocco, it's on this borderland, just the same as the Southwest. The Southwest is on the borderland between Anglo-Europeans and Hispanic, Europeans, with indigenous people mixed in all these cases. So you get all these indigenous ingredients as well in the Southwest, like chilies, tomatoes, and maize, beans, and squash. But also there's an introduction of European ingredients, particularly beef. Beef is the primary meat of the American Southwest, particularly in the colonial Spanish period, is beef. The vaquero, the original cowboys, were Hispanic and not Anglo. Well, the original Anglo cowboys were actually African American, hence the term cowboy, which was originally very derogatory and kind of caught up in racism, which is actually kind of ironic given the status of cowboys in American culture and how it's become kind of normatively portrayed as being white, but the original Anglo cowboys were actually black slaves. which is a funny fact. Like in North Carolina specifically, North Carolina, where they had cattle rearing in the Piedmont region, sort of like in the region of Asheville and sort of like western North Carolina, which was very suitable for, the production. Morocco also has this culture of cattle and ovoids. So you see lots and lots of sheep and goats, but also cows. Cows are a big thing in North African culture. People have this assumption, okay, Morocco, it's Islamic, it speaks Arabic, it should be culturally close to Arabs. And Arabs in the Middle East, primarily, they eat more lamb than beef. And they do eat a lot of lamb, actually, in Morocco, but beef is much, much bigger in Morocco than lamb. And it represents kind of like an earlier form of development, let's say, because ovoids, I think, are less intensive on the land and less intensive on the farmer. So an earlier form of settlement is more likely to prefer beef, because even if the cost is very high, the reward is very high. You get more milk and more meat from a singular cow than you would from a singular ovoid, where it's sheep or goats, So you see so much more sheep and goats in the Middle East because it's an older, more depleted region, whereas like Morocco is relatively newer and also kind of like less urbanized out inside the countryside. So like there's a big countryside in Morocco that we call the bled. So you get lots and lots of essentially cowboys, I guess, in Morocco with the cavalry culture. So there's lots of horses. So much more horse culture as well than in the Middle East. And in Arabia, they have this horse culture as well, but it's a prestige horse culture. It's not a practical horse culture. In Morocco and in the rest of North Africa, it's a practical horse culture, a lot like in the Eurasian steppe, where they have adapted to the realities of herding through the use of horses. And the more practical form of transportation, I think, for this purpose in Arabia is of course the camels, which eventually were introduced to North Africa and in fact had in the past a great deal of prestige and popularity that have since died out. But the horse culture hasn't. There's still so many horses in Morocco. Even there's so few camels. The camels are for tourists, really, for the stereotype of the exotic vacation. You ride the camel, you see the camel, But horses are much bigger in Morocco. It has kind of like a wide steppe and a lot of mountains. And this is better for horses than it is for camels, for sure. Okay. And yeah, so this is my comparison of the Levant with the Middle East, with North Africa and the American Southwest, kind of like a triple comparison, a doodle. Bye.